Hi guys, I'm Janelle Chaplin, Global Creative Director for Original Mineral, and today I'm with my New York City team and we are here to discuss the launch and some myths and tips and tricks about the new O&M Paint Powder. So let's start off by introducing the team. To my left I have one of my emerging stylists and head of assistant and general all-round rock star, Stephanie. We then have Jason Chong, one of our artistic directors and O&M educator for the USA. And to my left, I have the famous Wayne Lewis.
Hi guys.
He is the O&M education director for the USA. Nice to have you with us. Next up, William Scott Blair, one of our O&M artistic directors and USA educators. And last, but definitely not least, we have the very stunning Brianna Davis, one of our O&M artistic directors and USA educators. The team and myself are super excited about the pink packet. We've been using the paint bleach for the last 8 months in the New York Academy. We decided to give you a little bit of a video today to discuss some paint myths, offer you some tips and tricks, and maybe cover some controversial information so that we hope you can get on your painting journey and start hair illustrating. The first thing to do is just throw out any knowledge that you had before about a regular powder lightener. The paint powder works, it has totally different mechanics and works completely different. And the better you go in with a clean slate, the fresher your work will look and the better results you're going to achieve. The first topic we're going to discuss is the activators. The O&M Paint Powder is recommended to be used with 30 and 40 volume activators. And I just wanted to put out there, when would you choose 30, when would you choose 40? Brianna?
So personally, when I have a choice between 30 or 40 volume, it's simply because I'm choosing to reach a higher level, so I will choose to use 40 volume. Or if I'm looking to achieve dimension in one color, I'll use 30 and 40 when trying to achieve a softer and a more dramatic blonde.
Well, I definitely agree with what Brianna said, but I would definitely choose 30. I think it's really important when you are in a consultation with your client to focus on integrity of the hair if you're choosing 30. If I see somebody with hair that seems compromised that I don't think would be able to handle 40 volume, I would definitely drop it down to 30 and not use Saran, because the Saran sort of speeds up the process a little bit, but most of the time I'm using 40 and I haven't had any issues with integrity.
And for me, it more comes down to the texture. So coarser hair, I tend to go higher, so more 40, and for finer hair, I tend to go more towards a 30.
I agree with what everybody said, and especially when mentioned about hair texture. Of course, personally, first thing come down to me is the natural color and where we're going for, how many level we need to lift. Finer hair, I tend to use 30, especially finer hairline. I might start at the back and the nape and the hairline first, which is naturally, if a little bit lighter, I use 30. Little bit personally, I think if the hair is naturally got a little bit red in there, I tend to use 40, just give a cleaner lift.
So I find that I actually like to use 30 just for now until I can work on my speed and I don't want to be stressed out, like, you know, is it going to happen too fast or anything like that. I kind of just like to take it kind of slow and steady and use 30 most of the time, unless of course I get, you know, the Latina in here with the crazy curly hair, and then I'm like, okay, we need to use 40.
The next topic we're going to talk about is timing. O&M's recommendations is a minimum of 20 minutes to a maximum of 50 minutes. With open hair highlighting, you really can push it to the 50-minute mark. I know for me personally, I generally start on zones 5, 4, and 3, so that then if my front's not quite ready, I can always rinse the back and come back to it.
So I generally like to start in 5, 4, 3, 2, those zones. And I usually, after I finish, I'll just set a timer for 20 minutes, check it, and then if I need to reset a timer for 20 minutes or 10 minutes, I'll kind of gauge it from there. But I usually do that after every single section. So like the 5, 4, 3, and then like the zones in the front, the 2 and the 1, and that's kind of how I do it.
Yeah, that's very important to
Yeah.
start the 20-minute basis and go back.
For me, I find with this product, because it does contain kaolin and illite, it really does keep the condition of the hair. So for me, 50 minutes is somewhere I really like to push my product to and push my timing to on each client.
I definitely set a timer for 20 minutes. Sometimes after the 20 minutes, I don't set a timer for another 20 minutes. I just sort of like watch it as a case-to-case basis based on integrity, based on what zone I start in, etc. And another point that I really do want to make is that if a zone is finished, it's definitely okay to rinse it and have the rest of the sections that you finish later in your application process for a little bit longer. I definitely go ahead and bring them over to the shampoo bowl if something in the back is getting a little bit too light, or if you feel like it's ready, rinse it. And that's what the bake and shake is for. That's why we go ahead and shake it out to see what it's lifting to.
So the next topic is, do we cover up our open hair highlights? Do we place it with saran or not? Is the big question. For me personally, I generally do not use saran. I leave it to be open air. If I need to get the extra lift, I will get that in the timing. When painting the O&M method, I really do feel like it's a personal choice, and it's how you lay your sections down and how you want to get there and how quick you want to get there and what your book looks like that day. Or thoughts?
Well, for me, it's very much the thickness and the actual texture of this paint powder has been made so that it is thick, and I think a lot of people get very scared that it's going to be too thin or it's going to bleed through sections. But with this, because of the paste-like consistency, I think that the kaolin has given it the thickness that we need. So for me, I don't use any sort of wrap or anything in between.
Yeah. So I want to elaborate on that. I think that based on the instructions, you can mix it up either thicker or use a little bit more developer based on how you like to use the product. So if you are concerned, you can use saran if you're mixing it up a little bit more. I wouldn't say watery, but a little bit thinner. I tend to always use saran just because I do feel like it gets me where it is that I need to go maybe a little bit quicker.
Great.
You know?
Saran for me is definitely 50-50. I love to use it when I'm working on lifting a darker base. Maybe I want more of a shadowy, dimmer root and mid, so I'll lay a nice thin piece of saran over that and just let the ends process on its own, because sometimes they're a bit lighter already.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. I personal experience, I think I used to use saran. Like transitioning from foils to painting, I use saran as to keep away from bleeding. But then that's come down to application, which we're gonna talk about later. I definitely don't think if the application is good, there's no such a bleeding will happen. Sometimes do watch the temperature of your environment. If you do think it's a little bit colder in between the seasons, then I might put 1 or 2 on each of my zone.
So I definitely find that with the O&M Paint Powder, you don't need saran, because like Wayne said, I'm not afraid of like that it's gonna bleed or anything. I think the consistency is perfect. What I do like to do, I don't know if it just makes me feel better, but at the end of my zone, I like to just cover it, just to be like, okay, this is that, and then it kind of just keeps everything together. I feel like it just keeps the zone in its place, but I don't do it for matters of lifting or anything like that. So I don't think it makes that much of a difference, like how you said.
Yeah, great.
And for the rest of the world that doesn't know what saran wrap is, which Steph's holding, it's actually plastic or Glad wrap to the rest of the world.
Yes, for all those Aussies and Kiwis, So topic 4 is the application. I guess for me, application is very important, obviously, to keep very clean. We have created zones for you guys learning how to paint. The O&M zones are great for you to stay within and really analyse what you want to do in each zone. Zone 5, you might want to only work on the mid-lengths and ends. Zone 1, you might want to do all the roots. Zone 3, 4 and 5, you might want to leave a little bit of a root. This all comes down to how you're going to apply the product onto the hair.
Yep.
Also, I do think with application, a lot of it in the hair painting comes from the tension.
Yep.
So where you hold the hair out as to where you apply the product on. So really making sure that you nail that tension so that your result is more seamless and even all the way through. I know you guys have some other techniques for application that you use, like William.
I definitely agree with tension. I think that tension is everything. When I am applying, I'm typically only doing downstrokes with the brush because I don't want to get any sort of like back combing with the hair. I want the product to be spread evenly on the hair. I will, with my tension, if I'm starting at the root, I'll hold my hands higher, like in the mid shaft, and then move down towards the ends. But then also sometimes like uh-ohs and oops happen, and that's why I have a wet towel, and I use the wet towel sort of as an eraser. If I have some sort of situation where I don't want the paint to be where it is, I just take it and sort of blend it out, and then I can just go right back over it.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you're in the middle of the color or even in a conversation while applying it, you forget about tension. But then at the same time, how we teach you sectioning the zone, we braid it, and once you unbraid it, it's kind of force you to have that tension because there's a little bit curves in the hair. Yeah, right? Yeah, it's like.
And I mean, I know you do blending with a dry brush, Brianna.
Yeah, I would say consistency is the most important aspect of hair painting, and especially throughout the whole day. I always prep my cart with, or a lovely assistant will prep the cart with a few different brushes. So our large O&M brush, our small O&M brush, and I keep an extra brush dry so that while I'm painting I can just do 1 or 2 swipes and it just evens it out and makes sure there's no bleeding that happens, no extra color everywhere. And so it's sort of another way of having an eraser by my side, I would say.
And I don't know if you are doing painting, not on people's color, you use your hand a lot as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like you're an artist.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I use my
Yeah.
2
Such an
fingers.
artistic
Using-
way.
Peace sign.
Yeah, using my hands. I mean, that's the best part about application is that creativity comes into play. So whatever the head isn't in front of me, I sort of get an overall vision. And sometimes while I'm inside, it changes. But that's the artist inside of all of us.
I definitely, as well, just want to elaborate on the consistency throughout the day. Like some of us here take like, you know, between 5 and 11 clients a day, which is a lot. And how you are before a paint job is very important.
Yeah.
Like keeping your energy flowing, keeping yourself very mindful about the application. And if you're stressed out and tense, your painting's going to be stressed out and tense.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking a deep breath before
Yeah.
you start and understanding that this is a new experience for them as well.
One of the myths I want everybody to make sure they get across is that you have to use product. Do not be scared to put lots of thick paint product on
Opaque.
the hair. If you don't get the coverage, you will not get the lift. It's just that simple. And I think we've all seen that where you do a beautiful paint and you don't put enough on there and it just looks like a shimmer of color. If you want it to lighten, you have to get it on the hair.
Agreed. I will say I've seen brightness like on a whole other level using the O&M painting bleach for sure.
I would also like to bring up the fact that you have to keep mixing it, the product, while you are applying. We all use different methods to do that. I use the back of my hand. I'll take the product and put it on the back of my hand, and I'll knead it just so I can get any sort of like bumps out of it, because it will swell slightly in the bowl.
So
you have to keep mixing it.
Going
I
back
feel
to
like
the
that
temperature of the room.
it definitely does talk about your environment, but I also feel like that is, I call it like the 3-step. Generally, if we're doing a single process, it will be one mix with the whisk and then it will go onto the head. The paint bleach or paint powder needs to have 3 steps of mixing before it goes on the head. First one with the whisk, second one could be with the comb before it goes onto the hair, third one, back of the hand, back of the comb, back of the board. It's always like a 3-step mix. You can't mix and knead that product enough before it goes onto the hair, unlike other
I definitely
products.
feel like that assures me that I'm getting a nice, smooth,
Clean
palette
application.
Keeping your brush really clean is very important
And after
as
a
well.
while, it becomes second nature.
Yeah.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're gonna get it really messy, like how I first started.
So the next topic we're going to talk about is this is the kaolin mineral clay that we use to make the powder thick and be of a very thick, light consistency. So I guess the topic is thick or thin. How do you know to mix it runnier, to mix it more thick? O&M has a recommended ratio, and then we've also given you a thinner and a more thicker sort of result. So on the ends, it could be a little thinner, but whereas if you're doing it on the roots, it definitely needs to be thicker. What do you guys think about consistency?
Yeah, I absolutely think that, again, I have mixed to be thicker and I've mixed to be thinner. It has a lot to do with, for me, a coarser head of hair. I do feel more comfortable when I have a wetter, and actually a wetter bowl of lightener, because I feel that I can get through the head more efficiently, quicker. When I'm working with finer hair, I like to have a more structured paint, if you will. So
Yeah, I agree with that. I think so.
Yeah, when I first mixing it, coming from the traditional highlights or full head lifting, lightening, that we really worry about that product dries out through the process. But as watching everybody and as how I experienced, the product definitely stay quite moist. You definitely want to start a little bit thicker, maybe on some already chemical treated hair. I will use a little bit slightly thinner on extra long hair when I just want to give a little bit gentle lift. But definitely don't be scared to make it thicker.
What should the paint look like when it's complete? I know definitely myself, I have gone into it sometimes a little scared and done a very light application, and then once the results come back from the basin and it's dried off, you can hardly see what's there.
Yep.
And it's surprising and it shocks you and you think, oh, like there's no paint, like where's the highlights? So it can look very aggressive on the hair once it's laid on, and you can apply a lot of product and you can do a lot of sections and it will still come out seamless and beautiful. So don't be scared to have an application look heavy, I guess.
I definitely agree with that. There have been lots of times when I was first starting to paint that I was scared that I was doing too many sections or that I was like taking too much time, like applying everything. But even if you're doing almost like a bleach and tone application with it, it's still gonna, I mean, you're gonna have lots of saturation of color, but as long as your application is good, it's still gonna look really natural and soft.
So my favorite part is really when it's all finished and I get to take a step back from the client and get an overall picture of what I just did, because it is a lot to be in there the whole time. So when you do that, you're able to see, oh, how's my symmetry? How does it look? Saturation, concentration, like everything around the head. And it's usually white and bright, but again, always ends up being super, super soft.
So I guess really don't be scared to play with the product. Don't be scared to really work out your applications within the zones. And also we have got some partial paint techniques, which is very beginner techniques. I'm very excited to launch later on in the year some advanced painting techniques, where we discuss like, having support pieces, saturating the hair more in other areas, and really, to get you to the next level and journey of painting.
Yeah.
But definitely don't be scared to go in there, use the product, get it on the hair.
Have fun, guys.
Have fun. We hope this has helped with some of the stuff that you guys are scared about.
Fail and then you learn.
Yeah. So this is NYC signing off. Enjoy
Thank you.
paint
Bye, guys.